In this video, we're going to have a look at task 4 from the Credit and Debt Management Sample Assessment 1 from the AAT website. So this task is about the management of debts and liquidity. So in part A, it asks us to identify which one of the following will improve the liquidity of the business. And remember, liquidity is about how much cash and other assets that are very easy to turn into cash that the business may have. So the first answer there is suggesting that if there's an increase in profits by increasing sales. Well, we need to differentiate between profits and cash. So it's quite likely that profits will cause an increase in cash, but not necessarily. So, increasing profits is a good thing, increasing sales is a good thing, but if the cash doesn't arrive quickly, if we have, say, very long payment terms with those customers, then there may not be a very quick improvement in the cash position. So it is a possibility, but also perhaps not. So let's just put a bit of a question mark here to begin with. If there's a better answer, then we need to choose that. The second answer, paying trade payables before receiving the money from the trade receivables, well, that's a bad thing, isn't it? We should be waiting until the customers pay us before we pay our suppliers. So that's a bad thing. That's not going to improve liquidity. Using invoice discounting for large value invoices. So the idea of invoice discounting is that we're going to sell our receivables to a bank, let's say, and they will provide us with cash immediately. Perhaps less cash than the value of the invoice because they need to take their cut. But yes, invoice discounting will increase the cash that we have, and that will improve the liquidity. So yeah, that is a possible answer. And finally, increasing the credit terms offered to credit customers. Well, no, that's not going to be a good thing, is it? Because if we increase the credit terms, that means people will be borrowing from us for a longer period and possibly borrowing more from us. So that will not improve our liquidity. So there's two possible answers here, but one is much better than the other, and that's using the invoice discounting. Next then, a company's standard credit terms to its customers are 30 days. The company is considering offering a 2% prompt payment discount for payment within 10 days. And we need to calculate the following, stating your answer to 2 decimal places. Remember, there's a computer marking your answer here, so if you don't put it to 2 decimal places, then the computer will think you're wrong. So we need to work out, first of all, the simple annual cost of the discount. So here's the formula that we need to use. So we want to take the value of our discount, and we're told that we are offering a 2% prompt payment discount. So we have 2, and then we want to divide by 100 minus 2, so that's going to be 98. And then we multiply by the number of days then, so it's 365, but we want to divide by the normal payment terms. So normally we want them to pay within 30 days. But we will give them a discount if they pay within 10 days. So we're going to divide by 20. So overall, when you plug that into your calculator, you should get 37.244. And remember, we're rounding to 2 decimal places. So there we are, we count our 1, 2 places. We got a 4 afterwards. That 4 is less than 5. So that means we're going to round to 4. So it's going to be an answer of 37.24%. So let's do this for part 2, where we need to focus now on the compound annual compound cost of the discount. So what's the formula for this now? So it's basically similar to the other one, but instead of using times, we're going to be using powers. So we want to take 2 divided by 100 minus 2. So that's going to be the proportion of the discount compared with how much we're going to receive. But we're going to add 1 to this. And then we want to express that to the power of the number of days. That's the 365 divided by 30 minus 10. Now remember, in your calculator, to the power of, you want to be able to use that little symbol that looks like a small roof. Okay. So if we plug this into our calculator then, so we've got 2 divided by 98, and then add 1 to that. So the total of this number is 1.0204 and so on. And remember to leave that number in your calculator because that's how AAT does things. We don't want to have any rounding at any step of our calculation. We round only at the end. And then once I've got that, I want to use that symbol, so to the power of, and then I'm going to open my brackets and have 365 divided by 20. And that gives me an answer of 1.44585. So what do we want as our answer? Remember, we added 1 at the beginning here, so we need to remove that 1 when we produce our answer. So yes, we want 44.585%, but remember it's to 2 decimal places. So I want to put my line here, and then we've got that 5, which is big enough that we're going to convert the 8 to a 9. So our answer is going to be 44.59%. So these two formulas are not provided in your assessment, so you do need to remember them. Okay, let's move on to the next part of the task. A company's customers currently pay 30 days after the month end. The company is introducing a 2% settlement discount if customers settle the invoice in the same month. The discount will apply for invoices raised from month 2 onwards. They predict that 85% of customers will take advantage of this. The forecasted sales revenue is, so we see the 3 numbers there for months 1, 2 and 3. And then what we need to do is calculate the forecast cash receipts to be received from the sales revenue in month 3. If your answer is 0, enter 0, do not leave any cells blank. Again, it's important that we follow the instructions because the computer is marking this and it's not going to apply any judgment if you don't follow the requirements. So in month 1, we have the forecasted sales of 140,000. So let's think about how many people are going to pay in month 1 and how many in month 2 and then how many in month 3. So we think that 85% of customers will take advantage of this discount and they will pay in the month of the sale. So what we want to do then, we want to take our 140,000 and multiply by 85% because that's the number of people who are going to take advantage of this. But they're going to take a 2% settlement discount, so we're going to multiply that by 98%. So we will receive, of that 140,000, we will receive 116,620 in month 1. And then the rest of the customers will not take the settlement discount and they're just going to pay in the next 30 days. So we've got the 140,000 and then the remaining 15% pay in month 2, but they pay the full amount. So they're going to pay 21,000 in month 2. And by that time they've paid everything and therefore we have 0 received in month 3. And what about for the second month? So here we've got 146,000 of sales. And remember that 85% of them are going to pay in the month of the sale, but they'll get a 2% discount so that they only pay 98%. So 146,000 times by 85% times by 98%. So that means they're going to pay 121,618 in that month. And then in month 3, we've got the 146,000, but we just get the remaining 15%. So that means we're going to receive in month 3 21,900. So that's the figure that we put into our answer. And then finally, in month 3, we have 154,000 of sales. And remember, 85% of the people will pay in that month, but they will only pay 98% because of the settlement discount. So 154,000 times 85% times 98% gives us 128,282. So that's the figure we put in our answer. And that means that in total, we're going to receive 150,182 in month 3. Next then, a business is considering using factoring as part of its debt management. Remember, in factoring, this is where we're going to sell our trade receivables to a factoring company who will then manage the debt on our behalf. And typically they won't pay us the full amount because that will be their cut on giving us the cash early. So identify which of the features correctly describes non-recourse factoring only. So non-recourse means that when we sell these debts to the factoring company, they can't come back to us and ask us for money if our customers don't pay up. Okay, so the first one, taking on the risk of a debt becoming irrecoverable. And then we have taking over the administration of the trade receivables ledger, lending a percentage of the outstanding invoices as soon as they are issued, paying the balance less charges of an invoice once a customer settles the debt. Okay, so those are our 4 choices. Well, let's have a look at the second one, taking over the administration of the trade receivable ledger. Well, yes, that is what factoring is, but that applies to whether it's recourse or non-recourse. So the question is only asking for non-recourse only. So that means that the second answer is not the correct one. And then the third one, lending a percentage of the outstanding invoices as soon as they are issued. Well, again, that's just factoring in general. That's not only for non-recourse. So yeah, again, this applies to factoring. Okay, it's not non-recourse only, so that's not true. And then paying the balance less charges of an invoice once a customer settles the debt. Well, that's the idea of factoring, isn't it? Is that the customer will pay us and then we use that money to pay the factor. Okay. Of course, yeah, less any charges. So yeah, that applies also for factoring. Again, that's not only for non-recourse, that could be with recourse as well. So these 3 are not correct, but only because of this word only at the end, because those 3 things describe factoring in general. Okay? So if we have recourse factoring, then what that means is that the factoring company can come to us if our customers don't pay. Okay, so let's imagine that this is us and this is the factoring company. So we have perhaps £1,000 worth of receivables. We're going to sell that to the factoring company, and then they will perhaps give us, not all of it, they may give us 950, and that 50 is effectively their fee for doing all this work for us and giving us the cash early. Now, if it is with recourse, so because remember, there is another party here, there's the customer who owes us that £1,000. So normally when that customer pays us the £1,000, that allows us to pay off the debt, because this 950 is effectively a loan from the factoring company, isn't it? But if that customer doesn't pay us, that means we still owe that loan, don't we? And therefore, we need to pay that off. Okay? But if there is no recourse, which is the case here, then actually the factoring company takes on the risk. So they can't come to us and say, hey, your customer hasn't paid, you need to pay instead. So if it is with recourse, then the factor can come to us and ask us for the money because the customer hasn't paid. But if it is non-recourse, then it means the factoring company takes on the risk of the debt becoming irrecoverable. Okay, so the first answer is the correct one. Then we're asked, a company pays a premium for a whole turnover credit insurance covering 75% of any irrecoverable net debts. One customer owes 19,800, which includes VAT at 20%. the company is about to be put a claim in with the insurance company for the amount owing by this customer. So we need to calculate the debt outstanding excluding VAT. Well, we know that the customer owes 19,800, which includes VAT. So if we take the 19,800 and multiply by 100 over 120, so that would give us 16,500 as the amount owed excluding VAT. And then in part 2, the company can claim under the credit insurance policy. So how much can we include here? Well, we're told that the insurance company is willing to cover 75% of any irrecoverable net debts. So we want to take the 16,500 and multiply by 75%, which gives us 12,375. So that's how much the insurance company is willing to pay if the company does not pay up. And then in part F of the question, identify which 2 of the following statements are characteristics of an effective credit control system. So the first one, you only use one type of credit status source when considering an application for credit terms. Well, no, just one source is probably not good enough for us to make a decision about that customer. So then that's not right. We issue statements to credit customers on a regular basis. Well, yes, we want to do that, don't we? Because if we keep on reminding them how much they owe us, then that's going to trigger them, hopefully, to pay us. So yeah, doing that regularly is a good idea. Ensure outstanding debts are chased as soon as they become overdue. So yeah, that's going to be a good idea. We want the money to come in, so we need to chase them as soon as possible. And then we give every credit customer the same credit limit. Now, that's not a good idea, is it? Because different customers will have different risk. So we want to give them different credit limits.